The night was unusually still, as though the world itself held its breath. The village of Omorube rested under a canopy of stars, their light fragmented by the gnarled branches of ancient trees that loomed like sentinels over the land. In one small hut at the edge of the settlement, a lone figure knelt before a circle of ash and bone. Mama Ijima's weathered hands trembled as she traced symbols into the dirt floor. Her murmurs, barely audible, carried the weight of a forbidden past words she had vowed never to utter again. From Ekate to Nakem, let fortune flow, still as water. Let her spirit bend and break as I command, so it shall be. Her voice, though frail, resonated with an unsettling authority. The air thickened, the flame of a single candle sputtering as a chill wind snaked through the room. Somewhere in the shadows, an unseen force seemed to stir. In the bustling city of Aba, far removed from the village's quiet menace, Nakem thrived. She was a young woman of striking intellect and unyielding ambition, the pride of her family and a beacon in her community. At 23, Nakem had achieved what few could in her field of engineering. She was both a scholar and a leader, her vision fueled by an insatiable curiosity and a relentless drive to make a difference. Her peers admired her, her professors praised her, and her future seemed boundless. Among her closest companions was Ekate, a vivacious and magnetic woman whose charm often masked a simmering resentment. While Nakem had grown up in relative stability, Ekate's life had been a series of struggles and sacrifices. Though they had been inseparable since their university days, Ekate's envy had slowly festered, feeding on every accolade Nakem received. In the shadow of her friend's brilliance, Ekate felt her own light dimming. Their bond, once a source of strength, began to strain as they approached a pivotal moment in their lives. A prestigious grant was up for grabs, one that could catapult the recipient into international recognition. Both women knew the stakes. For Nakem, it was another step toward her dreams. For Ekate, it was a lifeline, a chance to finally prove her worth. Ekate spent sleepless nights oscillating between admiration for Nakem and a gnawing bitterness that consumed her. The breaking point came one evening as she sifted through papers in Nakem's apartment, ostensibly helping her prepare for the grant presentation. Hidden among the neatly organized files was a notebook, its pages filled with meticulously crafted designs and personal musings. Ekate's hands shook as she flipped through it, realizing the depth of Nakem's brilliance. It was a treasure trove of ideas, enough to secure the grant and more. That night, Ekate's desperation led her down a path she could never undo. She called her mother, Mama Ijima, whose reputation as a woman of solutions was whispered about in the village. "Mama," Ekate began, her voice tight with urgency, "Nakem is unstoppable. If she gets this grant, I'll be forgotten, a shadow in her wake. I need your help." Mama Ijima's silence on the other end was telling. She had left behind the rituals and incantations of her youth, burying them along with her shame. But her daughter's plea awakened something dark within her, a mother's protective instinct twisted by years of unspoken regrets. "I will do what must be done," she finally said, her voice laced with resignation. "But know this, Ekate, every action has its price." In the days that followed, Nakem's world began to unravel. Her once razor-sharp mind grew clouded, her confidence shaken by an inexplicable fog that dulled her thoughts. Tasks that had once been second nature now seemed insurmountable. Panic set in as deadlines loomed, and her typically supportive network of friends and colleagues started to distance themselves, baffled by her sudden change. Ekate, meanwhile, blossomed. Armed with the stolen designs and newfound confidence, she positioned herself as the leading candidate for the grant. Her charisma won over skeptics, and her presentations dazzled the selection committee. But beneath her polished exterior, guilt churned like a storm. She avoided Nakem whenever possible, unable to face the hollowed-out version of her friend that she had created. The climax came on the eve of the grant's final announcement. Nakem, desperate to reclaim her clarity, sought solace in her faith. She visited a small chapel on the outskirts of Abba, where the flickering light of prayer candles cast long shadows against the walls. Kneeling, she poured out her anguish, her whispered prayers of plea for strength and understanding. As she rose to leave, an old woman approached her, eyes sharp with wisdom and a touch of sorrow. "You carry a heavy burden, child," the woman said, her voice soft but firm. "And the weight is not yours alone. Seek the truth, and you shall find it." Her cryptic words lingered in Nakem's mind as she returned home. That night, as she leafed through her scattered notes, a memory surfaced, a fleeting image of Ekid's hands rifling through her things. A glint of something unreadable in her friend's eyes. The realization struck like a thunderclap. Betrayal. Driven by a mix of heartbreak and determination, Nakem confronted Ekid the next day. Their confrontation was raw, their words cutting and charged with emotion. Ekid, cornered, admitted to her theft but refused to acknowledge the deeper truth of her mother's involvement. "You don't understand," Ekid said, her voice breaking. "I had no choice. You have everything, Nakem. I only wanted a chance." Nakem's anger was tempered by a profound sadness. "You had a chance, Ekid. We both did, but you chose to destroy what we built." The fallout was swift. The grant committee, informed of the plagiarism, disqualified Ekid. Nakem, despite her struggles, managed to reclaim some semblance of her former self and delivered a presentation that, while not her best, was enough to secure her a spot in the program. But the scars remained. Nakem's trust in others had been irrevocably shaken, and Ekid, ostracized and burdened by shame, returned to her mother's village to start anew. Mama Ijima, too, paid a price. Her forbidden act had unleashed consequences that rippled far beyond her intent. The whispers about her powers grew louder, isolating her from the community she had once served. In the end, Nakem found solace not in triumph but in resilience. Her journey taught her that brilliance could be dimmed but never extinguished, and that true strength lay not in perfection but in the ability to rise again. As she stood on the precipice of a new chapter, she vowed to carry her lessons forward, a beacon of hope for those who dared to dream despite the darkness.